We don't give it enough credit, but the brain is just like the body. The more that you build it, like yes, it's building muscle, it's becoming more resilient, but at the same time, you're working that brain. So it gets very tired. At least that's how it went for me. This is Mindset by Natalia, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to walk you through my story and my journey when it comes to EMDR therapy and how it absolutely changed and transformed my life. So for those of you who do not know, EMDR therapy is a form of therapy, like a technique that licensed therapists use in order to help reprocess big traumas, big emotions, like a lot of that big heavy stuff that we carry deep in our subconscious. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So fancy jargon for what I just said. This is something that I've used always with my therapists. I've found it super beneficial, and I can't wait to share more about it so that you can see if it's the right fit for you. I am not a therapist, but this is my experience in EMDR, using it as a client, and just the things that I've learned from it and the things that it's really helped me with in my life. The first time I ever heard about EMDR therapy was actually through one of my best friends. She had been doing EMDR therapy with her therapist for years, and it had really done wonders for her life. And so she recommended it to me, and from that moment on, I just kind of kept my eye out when I was looking at different therapists to make sure that they would offer EMDR. EMDR was really helpful with really big traumas and limiting beliefs that I held about myself. It really helps me get to the root of that initial thought, those initial feelings of when those neural pathways were created that built the belief systems that I have now. And pretty much you go in and just reprocess it again with your therapist and work through a variety of techniques of that sort. And it just really helped me with those big wounds that journaling and other forms of technique, it just didn't go deep enough for me to really feel any change. Like, this is for like the big stuff. EMDR uses bilateral stimulation of the brain, so it causes one side to light up and then the other kind of going back and forth, and this actually helps us reprocess things better. So if you've ever thought about how people say, like, do you prefer to read a book or is an audio better? Normally people say that when they read a book, they tend to grasp it a little bit more than if they were just to listen to it. I actually came to the conclusion that this is probably because of bilateral stimulation. When you're reading, you're going back and forth on your eye movement. So it's just kind of a theory that I have that it might be why processing happens a lot faster or a lot better when you're reading a physical book rather than just listening to it. Like, your brain just tends to process things a lot better. Everyone is gonna have a different experience with EMDR, but from what my therapists have always told me, I'm very visual in my imagination. So whenever I'm in this bilateral stimulation and I'm thinking about scenarios and stuff, I always have these very vivid images that come to mind, and that's just what works for my brain, and that's just how I process through things easier. Another thing I've experienced myself, and I've heard other people as well, is that with your first sessions of EMDR, or when you're working maybe on a new core belief in your EMDR sessions with your therapist, you get really tired after your first few sessions because your brain is processing so much. We don't give it enough credit, but the brain is just like the body. The more that you build it, like yes, it's building muscle, it's becoming more resilient, but at the same time, you're working that brain. So it gets very tired. At least that's how it went for me in my first couple sessions, which I've been told is very normal. I also know friends who slept for like 10 or 12 hours after doing their first couple EMDR sessions. Like, this is some powerful stuff, and it's just so cool to see the different types of techniques that we've come up with in therapy to help people reprocess and just change those core beliefs and change those neural pathways, you know, fill them with the things that we actually want to think about ourselves, not just what we've been told in the past that we need to think. In my experience with EMDR, I've always worked with a limiting belief, so something that I think about myself, maybe it's something like, I'm unlovable or I'm unworthy, something like that. And then you have another phrase of which you want to believe about yourself. So maybe like, I am innately worthy, I am good enough, I am unconditionally loved, things like that. And it's kind of like taking this end and getting you closer to this end. So again, kind of like separating the gap between these two until you actually think whatever statement that you want to believe about yourself. So I honestly really do recommend EMDR therapy. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but maybe just talk to your therapist do a little bit more research around it, and it's been so beneficial for me. Again, if you have very big limiting beliefs about yourself or just things that you haven't been able to get over in years, like a lot of big traumas, I really recommend you maybe check it out. And if you have done EMDR therapy below, I would love to hear your experience of how it went for you. Maybe leave it down below. I'd love to hear it because again, we're all different people. Our brains work in all kinds of different ways, and what might work for me might not work for you and vice versa. But it's just a really good tool I recommend you look more into. And with all that being said, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!